Hi, Assalamualaikum and a very good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the webinar series by Center for Pre-University Study. My name is Dr. Nur Fawiza as moderator, and I'm honored to guide today's webinar on topic that concern our health and well-being, which is how to pick good organic foods. So in this webinar, how to pick a good organic food, we'll gain insight on certifications, labeling, sourcing, and production method to make informed choices. Debunk myths, identify high quality options, and explore the benefits of organic food for your health. So this webinar will equip yourself with practical tips and confidence in decision making. So for today's webinar, I would like to welcome the speaker, Dr. Chu Wei Yun, lecturer from Center for Pre-University, to talk about the title, How to Pick Good Organic Foods. Please welcome Dr. Chu Wei Yun.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm here to talk about this topic, how to pick a good organic foods. So rather than the more awesome summary given by Dr. No, I'm just going to share a simple things I have learned over the past weekends or past months on the organic foods, right? Now, so on the topics on organic foods, so my content here, so first we'll talk about why organic, why would you want to have organic foods in your diet. Secondly, we would try to understand what is an organic food or organic productions or farming. And then we're gonna demystifying some of the organic topics regarding the organic foods. And then we're gonna talk about on selecting the better organic foods that you can find in the market. Right, so first, why organic? Right, so the questions here is why do organic food matters? Well, to people in general. So people in general, there are concerns about eating with a conscience. So, so this 6 point here is that some of the things that matters to people who are selecting organic foods as part of their diets. So firstly, they wish to have a better food quality, a safer food options, and also a healthier food options for the people. And there are also some of the people that are having environmental concerns on the way the conventional farmings are being done to harvest their foods. And they also desire for a better animal welfare for those livestock like poultry and um, cow and sheep and so on. And then they also wish to have healthier food options, better social lifestyles because they are being influenced by the social medias of people picking the better foods, better organic foods in the supermarkets and so on. And then there are some of the people that wish to support sustainable and ethical farming practices. The sustainable farming practices here, we are talking about some of the more environmental friendly way of having farming practices, and they may have incorporate some less pesticides, less inorganic synthetic fertilizers, and so on. Right. And for ethical farming practices, they are more concerned on the laborer welfare or the producers, in this case, like farmers and growers. So like how much they earn in their based on what they do matter most to them. Right. So this is some of the studies that I've gathered and from the literature itself. So understanding organic foods. So what is organic foods? So firstly, to understand organic food, first we have to understand the food supply chain itself. So how do you get organic food on your table? All right, we are talking about from the farm to the table journeys and the supply chain itself. So firstly, we have the concern on the seed suppliers. Where do they get their seeds? Right? So the seed for the livestock or seeds for the plantations, right? Is it GMO? Is it organic in nature? And so now next, the farming practices. Is it organic? Do they uh, use pesticides and synthetic fertilizers, or even use hormones injections on the livestock, or do they abuse the practices of using antibiotics in their farming practices and so on? Then processing. How do you process those organic foods? Right? Do you add those synthetic materials inside and so on? And then after that, distributions, packaging, and whether the packaging methods is safe or not. Those are some of the concerns along the way from getting the food from the farms and end up in the table or for your dining tables and so. Okay, retailers and consumers. Right. So after we understand the entire food supply chain, and then we're going to talk about the organic farming itself. So this slides here is coming from European Unions and their regulation or registrations legislations on the organic foods. So for them and for us, for our interest as well, the organic farming have four key principles, right? So firstly, the use of the chemical pesticides and synthetic fertilizer is banned, right? You should not use that, okay? But however, in most legislations and also certifications and standards, they allow usage of the pesticides and the fertilizers, but organic or the from organic origin or somewhere around the farm itself. So meaning that it is not a chemical pesticide, better for environment and less pollution in these methods. And secondly, the antibiotics are severely restricted, so you should not use antibiotics in either of the poultry or livestock practices. And then GMO are not allowed. They do not allow any form of genetic engineering on any of the seeds and also on the livestock itself, right? Genetic cloning is considered banned as well for most certifications. So next, they encourage the crop rotations as part of the organic farming practices. All right, so this is some of the key principle in most standards and certifications. All right, but these specific key principles coming from the European Union Organic. Okay, next, livestock. If you talk about livestock, then you have to be aware that the principle here is to protect the animal and the livestock itself, okay, in terms of their health, in terms of their freedom to roam the open area, okay. And then for the farming practices, in this sense, we also have to consider how they protect the environment surrounding the farmland itself, okay. So in terms of that, then you have to consider the facts that your farm, whether the stocking density is sufficient, is not too high, okay? So like causing the animals distress in your farmland itself. Then you have to take note that whether you are minimizing the overgrazing or you have any methods to prevent overgrazing of your farmland and any soil erosions and do they come in contact with any pollutions. So this is some of the general practices and things that they assess before they allow a farm to claim it as an organic farm or organic food itself. Okay, no tetherings and also or isolating livestock, meaning that you should not tie the livestock or cage them in a small enclosed space, allow freedom for them to move, and no hormone or similar substance should be used on the livestock itself to as a artificial uh, growth promoters. And then they have free access to the open area and feeds, and they also have access to the veterinary supports in terms of health supports or medicinal support and so. Right, so this is some of the key element to for organic farming to have organic food. Now, in terms of organic food chains, the things from the farm to fork, like from the farm to the dining table itself for those foods, then you have to consider a few things. So storage, how do they store their organic products? Do they have a clear separations between the organic products and non-organic one? They need to have this for their standards. And then the final product on the market should have more than 95% organic elements, meaning that it originates from the farm itself without any additions of necessary additions or any chemical additions on the food itself, even if the food is processed. Right? Only 5%, even that 5% is some of the restricted substance and chemicals like salt and so on. Right? So this is some of the things that you have to be aware of for any food that's labeled with organic seal or logo. So now labeling, they have a clear rule on how to label the products and what can be used, what cannot be used for the logo, specific logos. And they have a restriction on the substance itself as well. It's like those synthetic fertilizers, antibiotics, and so this is not allowed in their final products. Right. Now, then the packaging. The packaging has to be environmental friendly and then to safe for consumption and human health. And they don't use most of the certification and standard do not allow any form of ionic radiations to kill the bacteria in the package itself. Right? They don't allow any irradiation as well. Okay, so this is some of the standard if you happen to see some of the sealed uh, products or certified organic food in the market. Right, so next, because there is a lot of myth going on the organic food and some of the misconceptions, so we are going to address that by demystifying them. So firstly, the myth number one, organic foods are always more nutritious. Well, organic food label, they don't guarantee that the product is more nutritious than the conventional farming foods. They don't guarantee it because this is not their focus. All right, because the labeling itself are mostly based on the agricultural field of farm practices most of the time, and some even extend to the packaging itself, but they do not guarantee that the organic food is more nutritious than the conventional food. All right. And by looking at this, I did find some of the literature. The literature is pretty divided, like they're debatable whether organic food is much more nutritious than the conventional foods. It's like some reported that it's even less, some reported it's more compared to conventional foods, but you have to use your own judgment on this, right? Second myth, organic food are completely pesticide free. It is not, right? Like I said, they do not allow the usage of those synthetic pesticides and synthetic fertilizers, and but they allow the grower and farmers to use organic natural pesticides in their practices, and most of the time they utilize some of the uh, pesticides they can find in their own farmland, right? But it's all organic, right? Now, myth number three, organic foods are better for the environment. Well, to some practices, it can be said that it is less polluting compared to the conventional farming because there's a sufficient gap between the pollution source to the farmland. And this is one of the thing that the assessor on the standard and certification will look at how your farmland is being constructed. Is there any polluting sources around your farmland? So they are really looking at that and how did you manage those pollutants in your farmland, making sure that there's sufficient gap, your pollutants coming from your farmland itself, those waste materials from your poultry and livestock do not run off or drift to other areas. Okay, so in a way that they are less polluting, but they are not necessarily better for the environment. The reason behind that is because that in organic farming practices, they require more land area compared to a conventional farm area. By looking at how the livestock are, you can see that they need larger open area for grazing to prevent overgrazing and also the and so on. Right. So they are not necessarily better for environment. Some may be even more damaging compared to the conventional farming. In some of the research and also literatures, they also stated that organic farming uh, cannot be a way to go for the future, because the author argued that the practices use large amount of land area, and the product or the yield from the farm itself is insufficient to maintain the human civilizations or population growth. All right, but this is up to your own judgment for that. Okay, so this is some of the common myths. And selecting organic food right now. Okay, so your interest is to pick a good organic food. And I'm going to tell you based on what I have researched and how to select a good organic food. Okay, firstly, you need to learn to read the ingredient list and also the food labels, right? So this is important because the organic food should contain organic content that are free from synthetic pesticides, uh, chemical fertilizers, GMO, and also additional chemical synthetic additive, preservative is not allowed as well. Okay, so once you see those things, they are not organic foods. So if you see that it's missing from the ingredient name, probably it is quite safe to consume as well. Okay, you have to familiarize yourself with common organic ingredient and prioritize products that are recognizable, whole food ingredients, and so you have to learn how to interpret organic foods label and certifications. Okay, and also to look for organic labels such as a USDA organic seal and some of the things that we're gonna go through later on in the slide. Right. Secondly, you have to consider the source. Okay, where did you get your source from? Where do you get your food from? Where do this food come from? From which farm? You have to pay attention to the origin of the organic ingredient, and then you have to look for. Okay, so there's you have to look for the product that is traceable in origins, meaning that you can trace the entire process up to the farm area. Okay, those are more trustable than the others, right? Now, you transparency is the key here from the packaging itself. Now, so thirdly, you have to ask yourself this: do you need this organic food? Okay, you have to take considerations on your personal diet needs and your preferences. Okay, so you have to reflect on your personal preferences, dietary requirement, and any specific health concerns. And organic food sometimes can offer diverse range of options. They can give you fresh produce, dietary, dairy produce meats, poultry, grains, and pantry items, and so. And you have to consider, maybe you will consider the taste, textures, and some of the allergens, possible allergens contained in the organic foods, and some of the dietary restrictions on yourself. Okay. Fourth, you have to you can explore local and seasonal options. Okay, by the meaning of local and seasonal options is that you can look around. Not necessarily you have to pick organic foods from the shelf. They are more pricier and coming from the other international country and so on. Okay, maybe you can just have to look around your area. There is a local and farm produce that you can buy that is fresh and somewhat free of pesticides and so on. Okay, maybe you can support the local farmers, and in a way, when you're buying the local produce, it also reduces the carbon emissions if you are concerned with the environmental health of the area of the earth itself. Okay, because this international produce coming from the other foreign country, they will have higher carbon emissions. Even though they are organic, they have higher carbon emissions because of the transportation costs. Okay, transportation costs. Now, so in terms of seasonal foods, okay, seasonal foods sometimes depends on seasons. They have lower cost or discount if you are off season. you can purchase those as well. If the pricing of the organic food is a concern for you, okay, so you can opt for the local produce and the seasonal produce. But whether the product is safe or more organic in nature, that you have to use your own judgment, okay, because most of the time they don't have this specific seal of organic seal for them, or not being even certified by the professional bodies for that. Okay, now so let's talk about some of the logo and seal that we have in our country. So in Malaysia, the organic farming seal is what you call as a My Organic Malaysia. Okay, so this is under part of the standard uh, ISO practices, right? So this is a plant-based organic for plant-based organically produced food requirement, and in terms of productions, processing, handling, labeling, and also marketing. So this is coming from Malaysia. So if you see this logo in one of the shelf on the supermarkets or anywhere, then you know that this is a Malaysian certified organic food, okay, or coming from the organic farming, right? Now next, okay, so what do they entail? So firstly, they are looking at the pesticides, the presence of the pesticides, and also some of the synthetic chemical fertilizers. They don't allow any GMO, and they also like a little bit concerned on the safety and welfare of the workers, which is part of their principles. And they are also looking at whether the practices is sustainable to the environment and they are environment friendly or not. And they encourage the usage of those on-farm fertilizer, meaning that the fertilizer is not synthetic fertilizers. They just gather around the farmland. It could be a cow manure and so on. Now, and then they also are free of the hormone or vaccines or antibiotic usage unless it is really necessary. Okay, because this is coming from Malaysia's certification and standard. Now, if say for example you go to the more international product, likely from USA itself, then you can look at the USDA organic seal, right? So this is how the logo looks like for the 100% organic seal there. You can see that that is the logo of USDA organic. So if you see any packaging that has this logo, that means that it's been certified by US Agriculture Marketing Services. Okay, so US Department of Agriculture. So in this USDA organic seals, it means that the produce have allowed ingredient only, non-synthetic, non-chemicals, okay, so all natural, and they are produced without any excluded methods like a genetic engineering and so on. And the farm itself, they use is a physical, mechanical, and biological farming methods, meaning that they use crop rotations and to have a better biodiversity on the farmland and also better soil health in their farming practices, right? Pesticide is not allowed, and also the synthetic fertilizer is not allowed as well. Okay, so for this US organic seals, they have a few category for them. Anything that the product label as made with organic materials, organic ingredient, they are not allowed to carry this USDA organic seal, meaning that it's not guaranteed that the product is organic in nature. Okay, made with organic and so. Okay, so this is some of the marketing ploy that put on the packaging itself to make buyers to believe that it is organic it's the organic food itself. Okay, now so for the one that with USDA organic seal, okay, it can be they are allowed to use 100% organic or organic. The terminology is the organic on their packaging. Okay, meaning that if it's organic, it's more than 95% of the organic ingredients are certified organic, right? No GMO, no non-organic ingredients, and certifications have been approved and so. Okay, now so for non-organic ingredients, some of the ingredients that's allowed usually for most of the standard, including salt, sugar, they are allowed. All right, So it doesn't mean that the organic food is much more healthier. So you still have to read the food label and ingredient list and make your own judgment on that. Okay, so for the common Japanese food, if it's a Japanese food, then you have to look for the organic JAS, which stands for Japanese Agricultural Standards, right? So over here, the thing that they are looking at is the plant origin productions, whether it's properly have a proper organic farming practices, and they look at the processed food, how they process their food, and they also look at the feeds of the livestock to make sure that the livestock itself is eating organic feeds. It's not coming from a non-organic feeds itself for the livestock. And then the livestock, how they practice their livestock farming, and also they have a standard for the criteria for the algae as well. Right. The thing, some of the common things I look at is whether the practices are environmentally friendly, whether you have GMO or not, whether the ingredient is achieved 95% of the standard, and also they have no synthetic chemicals, and also safe packaging. Is a safe packaging and manufacturing for that. Okay, so for EU standards, however, this is some of the common one. The European Union organic label and seal. So this is some of the criteria they are looking at. Organic productions. There's no GMO, no ionizing radiations, artificial fertilizer, herbicides, pesticides, hormones, and antibiotics, and so on. Okay. Now, and no animal overstocking. So livestock itself is 100 organic feeds. That's one of the toughest requirement you have. And no cloning, no growth promoters, and some of the common one, good animal welfare, do not cause any pollutions. Now for aquaculture, it's the same thing, mostly the same thing. Food chain itself, you have to maintain 95% organic content. Mhm. And then the hydroponics and aquaponics practices, however, are not allowed because based on their understanding, the organic farming meaning that all the plants has to grow naturally on the soil. So none of the hydroponic and aquaponic products can be considered as organic for European Union. Okay, so by survey and European Union organic certification is one of the toughest to get, and it's one of the comprehensive, and they have all the legislations and recommendations on how to help the farmers to convert their conventional farming to organic farming. Right. Okay. Some other labels commonly found is a product coming from Canada. It looks like that. Canada Organic Bio Organic. So that's the seal by the Canadian Food Inspections Agency. For Australia, however, there's no centralized certifications body. They have 6 of them. So this is some of the seals you can look for to look for organic foods. For India, however, it is India Organics by Agriculture and Food Product Export Development Authority. Right? So this is some of the labels you can look for. And there's others label as well coming from Korea and so. Okay, so you have to do a little bit of research on that. Now, other than the organic seal, maybe you can also consider other certifications and claim as well. So some of the famous one is non-GMO project verified. This is by non-GMO project organizations. So it is to verify whether the product has a GMO element inside or not. And fair trade certifications. Fair trade certification is much more focused on the farmers. Okay, the welfare of the farmers itself. Some of the requirement they have is that the farmers should have earnings like more than 30%, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe you can have a quick check on it, or more than 50% of the earnings. So making sure that the livelihood of the farmers and the producers are guaranteed. So in these fair trade certifications. And the Rainforest Alliance certifications and certified, it is for the organizations to check whether the farming practices jeopardizing the environment or the forest near the farmlands or not. So meaning that clearing forests for the farming is not allowed under a rainforest alliance certified. Okay, and then you can also look at some of the local and regional certifications, maybe coming from some other country like maybe Indonesia. You can have a quick check on that too. Okay, these are some of the things that you can consider on the packaging itself. Right now, so basically, so we have ended our presentations. Mhm. So I have shared what I have known, and as a conclusion, you firstly, like I said, you have to consider whether it is in your diet or not. Pricing is important for most usual that when they are going for organic food. And if pricing is a concern, you can look for a farm, local farm area, and those that have usually have a cheaper and better pricing compared to the international products, right? And if the organics farming is your concern, then probably you can look for the seal, the certified seal by some of the well-known countries that they apply for. And if say, for example, you are concerned on the laborers and the environment, then you can look for the fair trade seal and also a rainforest alliance seal in this sense. Okay, so this is some of the articles that I have read through in and also literature that I've studied and read through to prepare for this simple webinar for sharing. Okay, so thank you everyone, and thank you ladies and gentlemen for giving your time listening to my short and simple presentations. All right, and I'll hand over to Dr. Noor for conclusions.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Dr. Chu, for sharing the great tips on how essential to pick good organic foods. So with these guidelines in mind, you can confidently pick organic food aligned with your health. So I think that's all for today. Thank you for watching this webinar and see you next time. So here at MAHSA University, if you're interested in foundation program, you can visit our website to know more about our foundation program. So thank you everyone. See you next time. Bye bye.